Okay, if you're a leader right now, you are just drowning in AI hype, right? But how do you actually get past all the noise and make smart decisions about where to invest? Well, the goal of this explainer is really simple. It's to give you the gut instinct, the intuition you need to lead a real-world AI transformation without getting lost in all that hype. First things first, we've got to get one thing straight. You have to forget this idea of a single, perfect AI that's going to come down from the heavens and solve everything. Real enterprise AI is messy. It's kind of like a Frankenstein's monster, honestly. Different pieces stitched together to get a very specific job done. And guess what? That's not just okay, it's how it actually works. And this slide right here, this is the core mindset shift. Over on the left, you've got the myth of the God box, this single, flawless system. But on the right, that's the stitch reality. This is where you combine your solid, predictable systems, the stuff that already works, with these newer, more flexible AI components that can handle the really tricky, nuanced tasks. They have to work together. That's the secret sauce. So if you're not out there looking for a magic box, where in the world do you start? You start by finding the friction. Before you even think about technology or platforms, you have to figure out where your business is paying this hidden friction tax in wasted time and wasted talent. This is the single most important question you can ask. Seriously, forget the tech for just a second. Ask yourself this: where are my smartest, most valuable people stuck doing repetitive, mind-numbing, soul-crushing work? That's your bullseye. That's where your biggest opportunity is hiding. Now, what's cool is that you can actually systematize this. This little three-step audit is your first tool. First, you pinpoint that soul-crushing work we just talked about. Second, you define what becomes possible if that work just vanished. What strategic value gets unlocked? And third, and this is absolutely crucial, you define what decisions always stay with a human. Where is that non-negotiable human judgment call? Okay, so you found the friction. Awesome. Now we have to talk money. And we have to talk about the real economics of solving that problem. This is where so many AI projects just go completely off the rails, because that initial sticker price, it's never the true cost. When you build something in-house, the year one development cost is pretty obvious. But it's the ongoing annual costs that absolutely sink budgets. I'm talking about things like system integrations, constant testing, and especially something called prompt drift management. That's just a fancy way of saying you have to keep tweaking the AI to keep it effective as the world changes. These are the hidden expenses that will blindside you in year 2 and year 3 if you're not careful. And that brings us to one of the most critical decisions you'll make. Do you build it or do you buy it? The framework here is actually pretty simple. You only build when the process you're automating is your unique competitive advantage, or if your data is so sensitive it absolutely cannot leave your four walls. For almost everything else, buying just makes more sense. You get a full solution, and your team can focus on using the tool, not spending all their time just trying to maintain it. All right, we've covered mindset and we've covered money. But the most important piece of this entire puzzle is your people. You have to forget this whole narrative about replacement. The success or failure of any AI project comes down to one thing: empowering the subject matter experts you already have on your team. Just look at these two paths. The failure pattern on the left is so common it hurts. A central tech team builds a tool in a vacuum and then imposes it on the experts, telling them they need to be trained. What's the result? Total resistance and people finding ways to work around it. But the success pattern on the right, it's a total game changer. Your subject matter experts, your SMEs, they become the operators. They're in the driver's seat, co-designing the solution with IT. So you need to cultivate what some people call purple people. These are the folks who blend that deep industry knowledge, that's the blue, with enough technical literacy to be dangerous, that's the red. And here's the real secret. You don't go out and hire these people. You can't. You have to grow them by upskilling your best SMEs and turning them into the strategic operators of these new systems. Okay, so you're doing all this stuff. How do you know if it's actually working? Well, this means you have to radically rethink how you measure ROI. You've got to move beyond the simple, kind of lazy metrics and start measuring what really, truly matters to the business. I know this sounds a little provocative, but it's true. Money saved is a lazy metric. If the only thing you're measuring is how much money you saved, which usually just means headcount reduction, you are missing the entire strategic value of what you're doing. And even worse, you're creating a culture of fear that will absolutely kill adoption. So instead, a real ROI framework looks more like this. 1. What risks are you now catching that you were blind to before? 2. What high-value strategic work is finally getting done because your experts are freed up? 3. What new services or capabilities can you now offer to your customers? And 4. How has your workforce changed? Are they less burned out? Are they more skilled? That's the real return. So how do you keep all of these different pieces, the mindset, the cost, the people, the metrics, how do you keep them all aligned? What you need is a navigation tool. Think of it like a compass, not a rigid roadmap, because this landscape is changing constantly. And this is the 7P compass. It's a diagnostic tool to make sure you're staying oriented. It forces you and your team to constantly ask the right questions. Is our purpose clear? Are our people truly empowered? Are our platforms actually enabling them? Are our data pipelines clean? Does the product we've built solve a real problem? Are our principles for safety and ethics baked right in? And are we measuring performance in a way that actually matters? This quote right here really captures the whole philosophy we've been talking about. Think of it like a manifesto for leading in this new era. It's a promise to start with the business friction, not the shiny tech, and to empower your people from the ground up, not dictate from the top down. And all of this brings us to the final question you really have to ask yourself. The world is splitting pretty quickly into two camps. Organizations that just talk about AI in these abstract, high-level terms, and those that are actually on the ground stitching together real solutions to solve real problems. So the question isn't whether AI is coming, the question is, which side of that widening gap is your organization going to be on?